The Commonwealth versus Lizzie Borden. A dramatic reading of the full trial transcript. Day 3. Day 3, Wednesday, June 7th, 1893. New Bedford, Massachusetts. Chief Justice Mason and Justices Blodgett and Dewey presided. The state was represented by Honorable Hosea M. Knowlton, District Attorney for the Southern District, and William H. Moody, Esquire, District Attorney for the Eastern District. The defendant, Miss Borden, was represented by Honorable George D. Robinson, Honorable Andrew J. Jennings, and Melvin O. Adams, Esquire. Cross-examination of the witness, Bridget Sullivan, by George Robinson of the defense.
You were called Maggie?
Yes, sir.
By Miss Emma and Miss Lizzie?
Yes, sir.
But that was not unpleasant to you?
No, sir, it was not.
Not at all offensive?
No, sir.
Did not cause any ill feeling or trouble?
No, sir.
And did Mr. and Mrs. Borden call you by some other name?
Yes, sir. Called me by my own right name.
How long had you been at the house living there?
2 years and 9 months.
Did you have any trouble there in the family?
No, sir.
Not at all?
No, sir.
Pleasant place to live?
Yes, sir. I liked the place.
And for aught you know, they liked you?
As far as I know, yes.
Treated you well?
Yes, sir, they did.
It was a pleasant family to be in.
I don't know how the family was. I got along all right.
You never saw anything out of the way?
No, sir.
You never saw any conflict in the family?
No, sir.
Never saw the least any quarreling or anything of that kind?
No, sir, I did not.
And during the whole time that you were there 2.5 years, I think you said?
Yes, sir. 2 years and 9 months.
Now the daughters, Miss Emma and Miss Lizzie, usually came to the table, did they not, as the father and mother did?
No, sir, they did not.
I thought you said they did.
No, sir, they did not.
Didn't you say this morning that they ate at the table with the family?
Nobody asked me whether they did or not.
You did not say so this morning?
No, sir, I don't remember anybody asking me that question.
Didn't they eat with the family?
Not all the time.
But they did from time to time and day to day, did they not?
Yes, sir.
What?
Sometimes the family. Most of the time they did not eat with their father and their mother.
Well, did they get up in the morning as early as the father and mother?
No, sir.
So they had their breakfast a little later?
Not all the time. Sometimes. But sometimes they would eat down with the family. More times they would not.
How was it at dinner?
Sometimes at dinner. A good many more times they were not.
Sometimes they were out?
I don't know where they were. I could not tell.
You don't know whether out or in?
Sometimes I knew they were in the house.
Well, were there some times when one would be at the table and the other was not?
Yes, sir.
Whether or not you heard Miss Lizzie talking with her mother, Mrs. Borden?
Yes, sir. She always spoke to Mrs. Borden when Mrs. Borden talked to her.
Always did?
Yes, sir.
The conversation went on in the ordinary way, did it?
Yes, sir.
How was it this Thursday after they came downstairs?
I don't remember.
Didn't they talk in the sitting room?
Heard her talk as she came along.
Well, who spoke?
Miss Lizzie and Mrs. Borden.
Talking in the sitting room?
Mrs. Borden asked some questions and she answered very civilly. I don't know what it was.
Who answered civilly?
Miss Lizzie answered.
Answered properly, all right?
Yes, sir.
When you heard them talking, they were talking calmly, the same as anybody else?
Yes, sir.
There was not, so far as you knew, any trouble that morning?
No, sir. I did not see any trouble with the family.
Where were you at that time?
I was in my kitchen.
Was Mr. Borden there at that time?
No, sir, I don't think that he was.
He had gone out at that time?
No, sir, I don't think he was out. I don't know where he was.
Yeah, I'm talking now of Thursday morning when you heard Mrs. Borden and Lizzie talking together.
Yes, sir.
Then they got along congenially, did they?
Yes, sir, as far as I could see.
And talked pleasant?
Yes, sir, as far as I could see. When Mrs. Borden talked to them, they talked to her.
You waited on the table at times when they were all at the table?
Yes, sir. I put the mails on and rung the bell.
Yeah, whenever they rang the bell, you went in?
Yes, sir.
You heard them talking over things about Christmas time, didn't you?
I don't know. I didn't stay much in the dining room when the folks were eating at all.
I don't mean that, but you heard them talking over about Christmas things.
No, sir, I don't remember that.
Have you forgotten that?
No, sir, I do not.
How was Lizzie towards Mrs. Borden if Mrs. Borden was not feeling well?
I don't know. Mrs. Borden was not particularly sick when I was there except twice.
Did not Lizzie treat her properly and help her?
I did not see anything. I know that she was sick that one time, and none of them went into her room while she was sick.
Haven't you testified before about this?
No, sir. I said when Mrs. Borden spoke to them, they spoke to her.
You testified at the inquest?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember what you testified there?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember it all?
I think I do.
Did you, in answer to this question, did they talk pleasantly, say Yes, sir, and they talked over things at Christmas, and if anything was the matter with Mrs. Borden, Lizzie did all she could for her.
I did not know what was the matter between them.
Didn't you testify that?
I don't remember anybody asking me that question.
Do you say you did not?
I don't remember anybody asking me such question.
Mr. Knowlton was there asking you questions, was he not?
Yes, sir.
Did you answer this? Did you know of any trouble between Miss Lizzie and her mother and say, "No, sir, never a word in my presence"?
No, sir. I never heard them talking between them.
And they were talking pleasantly that Thursday morning in the sitting room.
Yes, sir.
That is so, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
You said, "I never heard a word that I could say was between the two."
No, sir. I never heard anything between them.
You said, "They seemed to get along congenially."
Yes, sir. For all I saw.
Is that so?
Yes, sir.
But did they get along pleasantly, and if anything was the matter with Mrs. Borden, Lizzie did all she could for her? Is that so?
I don't know that Christmas was mentioned at all.
Will you say that you did not say that?
No, sir.
Well, you won't say you did not say it.
No, sir.
Where have you been living since you left the Borden house?
In New Bedford.
Where?
Mrs. Hunt's.
Where does Mrs. Hunt live?
On Court Street.
What is Mr. Hunt's occupation?
Keeper.
Keeper of what?
Of the jailhouse.
Then you have been at the jail, have you? Helping work all the time?
Not in the jail.
I don't mean in the jail, but at the keeper's house?
Yes, sir.
And you have been there all the time?
Yes, sir.
And are still employed?
Yes, sir.
You came right over from Fall River?
Yes, sir.
And have been there ever since?
Yes, sir.
You were under a recognizance to appear here, were you? To appear here as a witness?
Yes, sir.
And was the city marshal of Fall River one of your sureties?
Yes, sir, as I understand.
And was the other one of the detectives Mr. Seaver?
Yes, sir.
So you have been in the family of Mr. Hunt, the keeper of the jail, all the time since?
Yes, sir.
I suppose you have not had much talk with either Miss Lizzie or Miss Emma since that time?
No, sir.
Or anybody representing them?
No, sir.
You have seen some people that were on the other side of the case, haven't you?
I don't know what you mean.
You have seen Mr. Knowlton since?
Yes, sir.
Where?
At Mr. Hunt's.
How many times?
Once.
When?
Last Thursday.
And have you seen any of the officers besides?
No, sir. Not
to talk with them?
I don't remember to see any of the officers. Not to talk to, I don't think.
Have you talked with anybody but Mr. Knowlton?
And this other gentleman.
This gentleman here?
Yes, sir.
Anybody else?
That is all.
Do you think you have told us today just as you have twice before?
Yes, sir. I've told all I know and all I can tell.
I don't ask you that. What I want to know is whether you have told it today just as you did before.
Well, I think I did, as far as I remember.
What do you say now you did when you came in from out in the yard, when you went out and were sick and vomited?
I commenced to wash my dishes.
Let me finish the question. What did you do to the screen door when you came in?
I hooked it.
Did you say so before at the examination?
I think so.
Do you know so?
I'm not sure.
You're not sure?
No, sir.
Let me read and see if you said this. When you came in from vomiting, did you hook the screen door then? And the answer, I couldn't tell. I don't know whether I did or not. Did you say so?
Well, I must have hooked it because...
Well, that isn't it. Was that the way you testified? I couldn't tell. I don't know whether I did or not.
I don't know what I testified. I testified the truth as long as I remember. As far as I know, I told the truth and nothing more.
I do not imply that you did not. I merely want to know if you recall testifying over there at Fall River that you couldn't tell whether you hooked the door or not when you came in from vomiting.
Well, I suppose I don't know whether I did or not. It is likely that I did. It was always kept locked.
You say now that you do not positively recollect one way or the other.
Well, I won't say. Can't remember whether I locked the screen door.
You remember now that you testified that you did lock it, don't you? Just now, a few minutes ago?
Well, I generally locked the screen door.
That isn't what I asked. You said a few minutes ago that you hooked it at that time, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
Well, now you say you don't know whether you did or not. Isn't that so?
Yes, sir.
You say now you don't know, am I right?
I don't know whether you are or not.
Well, will you tell which way it was?
No, sir.
Did you hook it or did you not?
I know I must have hooked the door, for I always hook.
No, that isn't it. Did you hook it or did you not?
I don't know whether I did or not.
Do you say that 2nd Street is a quiet street?
No, sir. I didn't say no such thing.
Well, is it a quiet street?
Well, I don't know. I didn't see any quarrelling there.
No, I don't mean quarrelling, but the noise of travel.
Well, there was quite a lot of Tims and Hacks and so forth goes by there.
And so if you were back in the kitchen, the rear end of the house, you would be farther away from it than anybody in the house.
Yes, sir.
You said that Wednesday morning, I think, that you let Dr. Bowen in.
Yes, sir.
Whom did he come to see? Somebody that was ill?
Yes, sir. He came to see Mr. Borden, I suppose.
Well, was Miss Lizzie complaining?
She said that morning that she was sick.
You say that she was down at breakfast time that morning.
Yes, sir.
And during the forenoon?
She was down before dinner was served on the table.
Well, she was down at breakfast time too, I think you said.
Yes, sir.
Was sat down with them?
Yes, sir.
And you don't know, of course, how much she ate? You don't know about that?
No, sir. I do not.
Well, you went out to meet some friends Wednesday night.
Yes, sir.
Or did you go out alone?
Yes, sir.
And came home alone?
Yes, sir.
Well, how far did you go from the house?
Couldn't tell. I went as far as 3rd Street, up 3rd Street. I went down 2nd Street, through Borden Street, and up 3rd Street. Went down to Main Street and up Main Street, and out as far as Morgan Street.
And you got home about 5 minutes past 10, I think you said?
Yes, sir.
And there you found the lamp in the kitchen?
Yes, sir.
Which you had not lighted yourself. You had gone out before lamplight.
Yes, sir.
And you took that and went to bed?
Yes, sir.
Or did you tell us what time? I think you did not. They had dinner the day before?
Wednesday.
Yes.
12 o'clock.
12 o'clock was the usual hour. There was a key to the side wooden door?
Yes, sir.
And do you know whether Mrs. Borden or anybody else had a key to it besides yourself?
I know Mrs. Borden had a key for it. Mrs. Borden got a key for it when I got mine.
So there were 2 keys?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Where did you keep yours when you came into the house?
I hung it on a nail that was hanging down near the lamp in the kitchen. The mantelpiece.
That was your rule to hang it there?
Yes, sir.
Or do you know where the other one was kept?
No, sir, I do not.
Now, do you recall what you testified at the inquest about their eating together? I have asked you about it. Have you a clear memory about it now?
I don't know if they asked me anything about it.
Well, you were asked this. Did she generally get up to breakfast? And you said, very seldom. She generally came down about 9 o'clock.
Yes, sir.
And then helped herself to breakfast.
Yes, sir.
Or did she always eat at the same table with Mr. and Mrs. Borden? And your answer, always did eat dinner and supper when she was in the house.
Yes, sir. She ate the meals when she was in the house.
That is so, is it? They always ate together when she was in the house, except when she was out on an errand. Is that so?
Yes, sir. They always ate in the same dining room.
Always ate together in the dining room.
Yes, sir.
Dinner and supper. You had nothing to do, as I understand you, in the line of your work mainly, except in the kitchen and in the washroom below?
In the front entry. Back entry.
You didn't have anything to do with the parlor at all?
No, sir.
And nothing to do with the spare room above stairs?
No, sir.
Or the rooms of Miss Lizzie or Miss Emma?
No, sir.
And you didn't take care of Mr. and Mrs. Borden's room?
No, sir.
And you had no charge at all, no care of the front part of the house?
No, sir.
And seldom went in there?
No, sir. I never had no business there.
And had no work to do there? And if Mr. and Mrs. Borden were in the house and the doorbell rang, they attended, one of them, to the door, and you did not go?
Yes, sir.
And even the little care of the rooms, such as the taking care of the toilet slops in the rooms of the daughters, you didn't see to it?
No, sir. I didn't have nothing to do with them.
Nothing to do with them?
No, sir.
And you didn't see to them even in the room of Mr. and Mrs. Borden?
No, sir.
You could easily go to their room, could you not?
No, sir. Except when I'd want the key. Except when I
Then
would take
Mr.
the
Borden
key.
kept...
Why not let her finish?
No, sir. I didn't have nothing to do with their rooms. There was nothing to take me there. I had nothing to do with it. If they wanted me to go on any errand there, they'd let me have the key.
Mr. and Mrs. Borden had a key?
Yes, sir.
Did they have more than one key to that door?
I don't know.
They had one?
Yes.
I mean their bedroom door upstairs.
Yes, sir. I mean their bedrooms.
Their bedroom door. Going up the back stairs, you would reach their bedroom door, and that key was kept on the mantel in the sitting room unless it was in use up there.
Yes, sir.
There's a bell that hangs there in Mrs. Borden's room, I suppose you know?
Yes, sir.
An old bell?
Yes, sir. I have seen it.
But that is not connected with the front doorknob, is it?
I don't know anything about it.
Did you ever hear it ring up there?
No, sir, I don't remember.
The bell you did hear was downstairs?
I didn't hear any bell that morning.
No, I don't mean any particular time.
No, sir, in the kitchen.
But while you were there, was that bell upstairs, to your knowledge, ever in use?
No, sir, I don't know anything about the bell upstairs. Always the bell I heard was in the kitchen.
Well, that is it. All the bell you ever heard was in the kitchen.
Yes, sir.
Now, coming in at night on Wednesday night, you went to your room and rose in the morning at 6:15?
I came down to the kitchen at 6:15.
Did you lock your door above?
No, sir.
Was anybody else occupying any room in the upper part of the house at that time?
No, sir.
On the 3rd floor?
No, sir.
Your room up there?
Yes, sir.
You say if anybody was careless and slammed the screen door, you could hear it?
Yes, sir.
But it was easy enough for anybody to go in and out that door and not let you hear it, wasn't it?
Yes, sir, they could.
Plenty easy?
Yes, sir.
Your window opened out into the yard?
Yes, sir.
Now, you speak about the time as 6:15 in the morning, 6:15, on looking at the clock. How many clocks were there in the house?
Well, there is one in the setting room, one in the kitchen, one in my bedroom, and there was one in Mr. Borden's bedroom.
Any other?
That's all I remember, all to my knowledge.
Did you ever see a clock in the parlour?
Yes, sir. I think there is a clock in the parlour, but I'm not sure.
Do you recall whether there was a clock in Miss Lizzie's room or Miss Emma's room?
No, there might be there. I don't remember.
You don't know about that?
No, sir.
There were clocks enough, weren't there?
Yes, sir, there was.
One in the sitting room, you said?
Yes, sir.
You prepared the breakfast Thursday morning, as I understand you, and you will tell us again what they had for breakfast?
They had some broth and mutton, johnny cakes and coffee and cookies and butter and so forth.
There was butter on the table then, was there?
Yes, sir.
And you don't say that there was no fruit?
Don't remember any fruit.
You remember that you didn't put it on the table?
No, sir.
Was it usually standing on the sideboard there?
Yes, sir. Sometimes it was there.
Well, you said that Mrs. Borden came down into the kitchen and you didn't recollect that she went into any other room than the sitting room.
No, sir, I do not.
But you don't know certainly about that, do you?
I know she went into the setting room where she...
You don't know where else she went?
No, sir, I do not.
Now, if nothing had happened that morning, Miss Sullivan, nothing unusual had happened that day, would there be any reason why you should remember that Thursday more than any other day?
What do you mean?
About what happened, what little things were done.
Why, no, there was no reason why I should remember that day more than any other day. Not before.
Could you tell us just what Mrs. Borden did the Tuesday before when she came downstairs?
A Tuesday morning?
Yes.
Well, she went into the sitting room as usual.
Well, not as usual. I want to know what you remember about it.
Well, the woman came down the stairs. I want to know what was for breakfast and so forth. I went to her sitting room and stayed there until breakfast was ready.
Well, do you know what time of the morning Miss Lizzie came down Tuesday?
I don't know if she was in the house at all. Can't remember.
You don't know whether she came down or didn't come down?
No, sir.
Do you know if she was in the house, anything about what she did Tuesday?
No, sir, I do not.
Do you remember anything about what dress she had on?
Yes, she generally wore a light colour.
No, not generally. What did she have on Tuesday?
I don't remember what she had on Tuesday. I can't tell.
Do you remember anything about Wednesday, what dress she had on?
Yes, sir.
What was it?
It was a light blue.
You say you don't remember Thursday.
Well, let her finish.
Wednesday morning she had a blue wrapper on her. Skirt and basque.
Now you say you do not remember on Thursday?
No, sir. I can't tell.
Can't remember?
No, sir. Can't tell what dress the girl had on.
Have you any recollection at all what dress she had on any part of Thursday?
No, sir. Except in the afternoon. I went to her room and she had on a pink wrapper.
A pink wrapper in the afternoon?
Yes, sir.
Before that you can't tell anything about it?
No, sir, I couldn't.
Now, Mr. Borden went out in the garden or under the pear trees in the morning at what time?
It might have been 7 o'clock or 5 minutes or 10 minutes. I can't tell what time it was.
Was it before breakfast?
Yes, sir.
And where was Mr. Morse at that time?
I couldn't tell you where he was.
Is there a room connected with the kitchen beside the closet?
Well, there is the setting room, dining room, closet and sink room.
Anything else?
Front hall, front entry.
Small hall leading to the outside door. Is there a room there in the corner, the northeast corner?
Downstairs.
Yes.
There is a parlour there.
No, leading out from the kitchen.
There is a closet there.
Well, you call it a closet?
Yes, sir.
Is that the only closet there is in the kitchen?
It is the closet, the kitchen closet. There's a little closet there where the wood and the coal was kept. And there is a sink room there where the refrigerator was.
Then there is a closet, and that is quite a large closet, a sort of pantry, wasn't it?
Well, I always called it the kitchen closet. Don't know what anybody else called it.
You could go right into it?
Yes, sir.
And shelves around?
Yes, sir.
And did you have occasion to go in when you were preparing breakfast?
Yes, sir.
Regularly?
Yes, sir.
And when you were clearing away and putting in food, did you have occasion to go in there?
Yes, sir.
That was a common thing, wasn't it?
Yes, sir.
You went in there that morning, did you not?
Yes, sir.
And in and out that room several times?
Yes, sir.
There was a window opening from that closet out into the backyard, was there not?
A window was there. I don't know whether it was open or shut.
I don't mean whether it was exactly open, up or down, but a window that let the light in.
Yes, sir.
And there was a door which could be shut to that closet.
Yes, sir.
Now, while Mr. Borden was out in the backyard, do you know whether the door was hooked or not?
I didn't hook it.
You didn't hook it?
No, sir.
And you have not the least knowledge whether it was hooked or not, have you?
No, sir. I've not.
And I think you have told us just a moment ago that when you yourself went out into the yard at the vomiting time, that now you cannot say whether you hooked it or not when you came back.
I didn't hook it when I went out, for I couldn't.
No, when you came in?
Well, I generally always hooked it.
Now, I did not ask you that. You have told us now that you cannot tell, haven't you? certainly?
Well, I'm most sure that I hooked it, but I wouldn't say.
You won't say?
I won't say.
All the time that you were washing windows, that door was unhooked, wasn't it?
Yes, sir.
Now, what time did you begin to wash windows?
Well, as far as I remember, my knowledge of it was 9:30.
Mr. Borden was gone down the street then?
Yes, sir, he'd gone out of the house.
He had gone out of the house?
Yes, sir.
And from the time you commenced at 9:30 in the morning until you got through with the washing outside, that screen door was unhooked?
Yes, sir.
And you made the suggestion to Miss Lizzie that she need not hook it because you would be around there to look after it.
Yes, sir.
Now, as a matter of fact, you were not around there all the time to look after it, were you?
Don't know if there was anybody to come into the kitchen, but I'd say I would be around there.
You didn't anticipate any trouble or anybody getting in?
No, sir, I did not.
Oh, you expected it would be all right?
Yes, sir.
And that is the reason you told her so?
Yes, sir.
You did not tell her to keep it so only to let you in, did you?
Yes, sir.
That is what you wanted?
Yes, sir.
Now let us see. You went out to the barn to get water several times, 6 or 7 or more pails of water.
Yes, sir.
And that is while the screen door was unfastened.
Yes, sir.
You were washing. You went in and shut the windows in the sitting room?
Yes, sir.
And the dining room?
Yes, sir.
And you do not know how you did leave the shutters in there, or the curtains?
I didn't disturb the shutters or the curtains. The upper shutters were shut, I know they were. And the lower shutters, I didn't disturb them. They was partly open, I suppose, but I can't tell. But I let down the windows.
Really, you don't know? You put the windows down, but how you left the lower part of the shutters, you don't know?
I know they was open a little.
What is that?
I know they were partly open.
They were partly open?
Yes, sir.
When you first went out, as you got ready to go to work, you saw Mrs. Kelly's girl there?
Yes, sir.
And you went over to the fence and talked with her?
Yes, sir.
Where was she?
She was over in her own yard.
What part of the yard?
She was in the yard, front of the house, going to wash the windows.
So she was over on the 2nd Street front?
Yes, sir.
She was going to wash the windows in the front part of that house?
Yes, sir.
And you went over to the fence in that corner and stood there talking with her?
Yes, sir.
That was before you commenced to wash?
Yes, sir.
The screen door over on the other side of the house was open, unlocked, all that time?
Yes, sir.
And you had left it so, hadn't you?
Yes, sir, I did.
That was before you commenced to wash?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell me any reason why a person could not have walked into that door and you not seen him?
Well, of course they could.
Then also, at one time, you went to washing the windows at the front end of the Borden house?
I washed them in the sitting room first.
I know, but you did at one time wash the end windows in the parlor.
Yes, sir.
And would there be any difficulty then in a person going into the side door when it was unhooked?
Yes, sir. Anybody could come from the backyard, but not from the front.
They could, no trouble at all. When you were talking with Mrs. Kelly's girl, the field was pretty clear, wasn't it? That is, there wasn't much in the way. You stood back to the Borden house talking with the Kelly girl over the fence.
Yes, sir, I was.
And you could not then see, as you stood, you could not see the front gate or the side gate or the sidewalk.
Think I could see the front gate? I'm not sure.
Well, you could if you looked.
Yes, sir.
But if you were talking off that way and the front door was down there, you could not see it, could you?
No, sir.
Or you were talking to that girl?
Yes, sir.
Talking right straight to her?
Yes, sir, I was.
When Mr. Borden went out that morning, let Mr. Morse out, rather, you do not know yourself how that door was left, do you?
Well, the door was hooked when I went out in the yard.
That is all you know. The door was hooked when you went out at a later time in the yard.
Yes, sir.
But who hooked it, you do not know.
Well, I suppose Mr. Borden.
No, don't suppose. You can suppose anything. You don't know that, do you?
No, sir.
You had your breakfast in the dining room?
Yes, sir.
What part of the dining room did you sit?
I sat at the table.
Which part?
South side, towards Dr. Kelly's.
You sat on the south side of the dining room?
Yes, sir.
And your back was towards the sitting room?
My back was towards the sitting room.
You sat on the side of the table?
Yes, sir.
Whose place was that ordinarily?
Mr. Borden's.
That was where Mr. Borden ordinarily sat, with his back to the sitting room wall?
Yes, sir.
And his face would be looking over towards Mrs. Churchill's?
Yes, sir.
You saw Mr. Borden go up after the breakfast time, take his keys and go up the back stairs?
Yes, sir.
And how long he was gone, you do not know?
No, sir, I do not.
But he came down and then he went off out of the house.
I didn't see him going out that morning.
But you knew he went?
I suppose he went out, because I did not see him in the house.
And Mrs. Borden at that time was attending to dusting about?
I suppose so. I didn't see her dusting at the time.
You did not go into the front part of the house at all that morning until the time when you went to the front door to unlock it?
No, sir. Not through the front part.
I beg pardon?
No, sir. I didn't go from the dining room.
Well, while you were washing the windows in the sitting room and dining room inside, you had not gone into the front hall that morning?
No, sir, I did not.
Until you heard the noise at the front door?
No, sir, I did not.
And you certainly did not then go up the front stairs?
No, sir, I did not.
And the last time, then, that you saw Mr. Borden was when he was going upstairs with his pitcher and his key?
Yes, sir, that is what I remember.
Until he came back to the front door. You understand that. You don't want to mislead her, of course.
Yes, I mean until he came to the front door. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
And you have said, I think, and made it plain that when you suggested to Miss Lizzie that she need not hook the side door, she did not hook it.
No, sir, she did not.
You know she did not, because you could get in there, in and out.
Yes, sir.
When you went out to the barn to get water, you got it at the faucet under the stairs, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
As you went in at the door, you would go around under the stairs.
Yes, sir.
And draw the water in your pail.
Yes, sir.
Now, could you see much of the yard when you were in there?
I could see facing out.
What?
I could see if I was looking out, that was all.
If you were looking out, you were getting water, weren't you?
Yes, sir.
You were really honestly at work, of course.
Yes, sir.
You were not upon the watch looking out for people?
No, sir.
Watching your work?
Yes, sir.
How many pails of water did you get in all from the barn?
I couldn't remember.
Did you say something like 6 or 7?
Yes, I probably got that much. It might be more, it might be less.
It might be more than 6 or 7?
Yes, I can't tell.
In the first place, you had been out in the barn to get this stick and came in again?
Yes, sir.
And then got your things together?
No, sir, I didn't.
Well, how was it?
I went out. I went down the stairs and got a pail and took the pail out the door full of water. I went into the barn and got the handle and the brush, the stick, whatever you call it.
On the outside of the parlour, you say the blinds were closed when you went around there?
I know they was closed on the front part anyway.
But you can't tell us at all whether the parlour curtains or shutters on the inside were closed.
Can't remember how they were.
Whether anybody was in that room, you can't tell?
No, sir, I couldn't.
You didn't see anybody come in there at all?
No, sir, I didn't see anybody around the house.
Well, when you walk along the north side of the house on the walk, you know where I mean, coming from the street in.
Yes, sir, I know what you mean.
How high is the window seat of the dining room? How does it come with reference to your body or your head?
I don't know. It was quite high, I think.
Can't see in, can you?
I can't see. Except anybody had been at the window. I could see them, I guess.
As you were walking in along there from the street and going into the back door, the window seats are up so high and the walk so low that you can't see unless a person is right up to the window.
I don't think so. I don't remember how it was.
Now, what you say is that you went into the kitchen to get the dipper after you had got through with the outside, to rinse it off, I suppose.
Yes, sir.
And when you went into the kitchen, you didn't see anybody?
No, sir, I didn't.
That is all there was about that?
Yes, sir.
Whether there was anybody in the dining room or anybody in the sitting room or elsewhere, you don't know?
No, sir, I don't.
You were not taking any pains to find out, were you?
No, sir, I wasn't thinking of anybody in the house.
Didn't think of any trouble at all?
No, sir, I didn't.
Then after you got through, did you go out to the barn again to put the tools away or any part of them?
No, sir. I put the handle and the brush in the barn before I came in.
What I mean is, that was after you got through outside?
Yes, sir.
You went to the barn again?
Yes, sir.
And put the handle in there?
Yes, sir.
And then when you came in, you hooked that side door?
Yes, sir, I did.
Had you ever gone to let Mr. Borden in on any other day at the front door?
No, sir, I don't remember.
What?
No, sir, I did not.
Let us see if we understand it right. All the time that you lived there, did you ever go when he came to the door and couldn't unlock the door?
I don't remember.
Now you say that you unlocked the bolts?
Yes, sir.
You didn't open the parlour door, did you?
The parlour door?
Yes.
No, sir. I didn't have nothing to do with it.
You don't know anything about it?
No, sir, I don't.
Whether there was anybody in there or not?
No, sir, I didn't.
The door from the sitting room into the parlour was closed, wasn't it?
Yes, sir.
All the time, the door from the hall into the parlour was closed.
Yes, sir.
You had no occasion up to that time to go to that front door that morning or anywhere in the front hall.
No, sir.
Are you very certain about that?
Yes, sir.
Or there is no mistake about that?
No, sir. I didn't go in that front door that morning until Mr. Borden came in.
After you let Mr. Borden in, you say you heard Miss Lizzie laugh?
Yes, sir.
And you say she was upstairs somewhere?
Yes, sir.
And you didn't see her on the stairs?
No, sir.
Didn't see her at all?
No, sir. I didn't look.
You heard the sound of the laugh?
Yes, sir.
And was that all?
Yes, sir.
Now, after you let him in, where did you go?
I went into the sitting room.
And then you say that You next saw her come from where?
From the hall, into the front entry, into the sitting room.
You saw her come from out of the front hall, as you recall it?
Yes, sir.
And there was talk with her father about the mail?
Yes, sir.
Well, it was all pleasant talk every way?
Yes, sir, as far as I know.
Everything was all right?
Yes, sir.
No sort of scolding either side?
No, sir.
And what did he say about the mail?
I don't know what he said. I remember she asked him, was there any mail? I don't know what she said. I wasn't paying any attention.
You don't know what was said?
Only I heard her tell her father her mother had gotten a note and gone out.
Did you hear what he said about that?
No, sir.
You went off about your work?
Yes, sir. I was washing my windows.
You were not listening. It wasn't anything unusual to hear them talk?
No, sir.
After you heard him say there was no mail for her, do you remember what she said to him?
Yes, sir.
But you don't remember any reply that he made?
No, sir. I heard the man talking, but I don't remember what he said.
You heard him talking?
Yes, sir.
What he said you don't know?
No, sir, I didn't.
Then he sat down?
Sat down on his chair at the head of the lounge.
In the dining room?
Yes, sir.
And you saw Miss Lizzie go to work and iron some handkerchiefs?
Yes, sir.
Well, that was nothing unusual, was it?
No, sir, it was not.
They used to wash their own handkerchiefs?
She always did.
To that extent?
Only to that extent.
And iron them?
Yes, sir.
And she had the common iron board?
No, sir. Well,
I don't mean the large one, but a small ironing board.
yes, sir.
And ironed on the dining room table.
Yes, sir.
You saw her about that?
Yes, sir.
And you don't mean to say that you watched her movements at all that morning any more than any other morning?
Well, no, sir, I did not.
Not at all?
No, sir, I did not.
Or you didn't even know about the fire in the stove?
No, sir, I didn't look at the fire at all.
What kind of fire did you make in the morning?
I made a coal fire. Not a very big fire.
It was hot weather and you didn't need much fire after breakfast?
No, sir.
You didn't look in the stove to see how it was?
No, sir, I did not.
Were the flats on the stove?
Yes, sir.
Who put them on?
Miss Lizzie, I suppose. I didn't put them on.
You say that when she came down, that is before you went out in the yard, she spoke about breakfast?
Yes, sir. I asked her what did she want for breakfast. She said she didn't think she wanted any breakfast. But she felt as if she could take something. She would have some coffee and cookies.
I suppose the table wasn't set before breakfast, was it?
No, sir. I had all the things cleared off the table.
So all she had was a cup of coffee?
That is what she said she thought. Some coffee and cookies.
Well, she didn't usually have but one, did she?
That is all, sir.
So she had a cup of coffee and some cookies. Were those sugar or molasses cookies?
I don't know what they were.
Some you made?
No, sir. They came from the bakery.
You didn't, of course, stay to see her eat them.
No, sir.
You didn't mind anything about it?
No, sir, I didn't.
You were out in the yard 10 or 15 minutes, you say?
No, sir. I was about that much out in the yard.
But it didn't take 10 or 15 minutes to drink that cup of coffee and eat those cookies, did it?
I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, what time did you first see the flats on the stove?
I don't know anything about when I seen them on there.
Did you see them on before you went out into the yard?
No, sir, I did not.
After you came in?
I don't remember to take any notice of the flats at all. Only when I saw her ironing.
Do you have the least idea whether while you were out she was reading or what?
No, sir, I don't know what she was doing. I can't tell you.
Now you went upstairs after you got through your work.
Yes, sir.
And she was in the dining room ironing handkerchiefs.
Yes, sir.
The dining room door from the sitting room, you think, was open?
Yes, sir. From the dining room into the sitting room was open.
Perhaps I stated wrongly. From the dining room into the kitchen.
Yes.
You think that was open?
Yes, sir.
It wasn't the kitchen warm that morning?
Well, I suppose so.
Do you think you surely noticed that the door from the kitchen into the dining room was open?
Yes, sir.
Feel confident about that?
Yes, sir. I saw her going back into the dining room. Whether she had shut it after I'd gone out to the kitchen or not, I can't tell.
You went directly upstairs?
Yes, sir.
And got up there, you think, about 3 or 4 minutes before 11 o'clock?
Yes, sir.
And you heard no noise or any trouble, and you hadn't seen anybody about the house?
No, sir, I didn't.
Where the different persons in the house were, you didn't know?
Except Mr. Borden and Lizzie in the sitting room.
Then you heard Miss Lizzie call you?
Yes, sir.
Upstairs?
Yes, sir.
You were up there?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember the exact words that she used?
She says, "Maggie, come down." And she hollered in such a voice that I says, "What's the matter?" And she says, "Come down quick. Father is dead. Someone has come in and killed him."
Now, when you gave it before today, did you give it just like that?
I think so.
Did you say, "Father is killed"?
Father is killed or dead. I can't tell which of the two. Just the same anyway.
It means the same, but I'm trying to see if you could remember the words. You don't quite, do you?
I think she said father is killed. Somebody came in.
Other times you have said, haven't you, a little something different. It may mean the same.
I don't know. I think it was the word she said. Either dead or killed. I can't tell which of them.
Now, when you came down, were you excited?
Why, yes, sir.
Oh, you really were, weren't you?
Yes, sir.
You found then that Mr. Borden was either very badly injured or else he was dead?
I didn't know what was the matter. She said he was either dead or killed. I couldn't tell which of the two words now, of course. She told me to go after the doctor, and so I did.
You started right after Dr. Bowen?
Yes, sir.
When you got over to Dr. Bowen's, going from there, you left Miss Lizzie at the bottom of the stairs, right at the side door?
Yes, sir.
Of course, you went out, and as far as you know, the screen door was not locked.
I couldn't tell whether it was locked or not.
You can't really tell very clearly about what things happened right afterwards, can you?
As far as I can remember. I can tell all I remember.
A good deal of excitement?
Yes, sir.
You went as fast as you could. You say you think you ran over to Mrs. Bowen's and learned that the doctor was away?
Yes, sir.
And then you came back to the house?
Yes.
And then she asked you to go for Alice Russell?
She asked me if I knew where Alice Russell lived.
And then did you go as fast as you could down there?
Yes, sir.
When you came back to the house, whom did you find there?
Miss Lizzie and Mrs. Churchill and Dr. Bowen.
Do you know which one got there first, whether Mrs. Churchill or Dr. Bowen?
I don't know.
You found them when you got there.
I know Dr. Bowen was stepping out of his carriage as I was coming up 2nd Street.
Then Mrs. Churchill got there first, didn't she?
I don't know.
Well, when you got into the house, Mrs. Churchill was there?
Yes, sir.
And when you got to the house, Dr. Bowen was just getting out of his carriage?
No, sir. Dr. Bowen was in the house before I was. As I was coming down 2nd Street, I saw Dr. Bowen stepping out of his carriage.
As you saw him down the street, he was just stepping out of his carriage?
Yes, sir.
And you saw him go into the house?
Yes, sir.
Did you see Mrs. Churchill go into the house?
I don't remember.
But she was in the house.
She was in the house when I went in there.
There was a talk, and Miss Lizzie was upon the lounge in the dining room, was she, part of the time?
She was in the kitchen when I came back.
But after that?
Yes, when I came downstairs from being up. She was in the dining room, on the lounge.
And Miss Russell with her?
Yes, sir.
And they fanning her, taking care of her?
I don't know. There was a crowd there and I passed out in the kitchen.
You didn't see any blood on her?
No, sir, I don't remember seeing any blood.
Didn't see any blood, did you?
No, sir, I did not.
You were round there all the forenoon?
Yes, sir.
And she was about there lying on the lounge?
Yes, sir.
And walking about?
No, sir. I guess she went upstairs to her room.
Do you know who went up with her?
I don't know.
I think I asked you if you saw any blood upon her anywhere.
No, sir.
Face or hands or anywhere?
No, sir, I didn't.
And her hair, was that all in order properly?
As far as I can remember, I didn't see any difference.
Didn't see any difference at all?
No, sir.
You simply say that you didn't see anybody come with a note?
No, sir, I did not.
Easy enough for anybody to come with a note to the house and you not know it, wasn't it?
Well, I don't know if a note came to the back door that I wouldn't know.
But they wouldn't necessarily go to the back door, would they?
No, I never heard anything about a note. Whether they got it or not, I don't know.
Oh, do you know anything about it, and so you don't undertake to say it wasn't there?
No, sir.
Will you fix the time when you got through washing the windows outside?
Oh, I can't tell anything about it.
Can't tell very near anyway, can you?
No, sir, I can't. Don't know anything about the time. I didn't take no notice of the time. Didn't have no occasion.
Well, a good many things that day aren't very clear in your mind, are they? Clear in your recollection.
As far as I can remember. As far as I know.
But you're not certain of a good many things.
Well, I'm not certain about the time because I never noticed anything about the clock or anything except 11 o'clock. No one noticed that.
Yeah, did you see anybody on 2nd Street when you went out after Dr. Bowen?
I don't remember to see anybody the first time. But I remember I thought there was a man asked me sometime.
Yeah, I don't care about the conversation. Did you see the man?
Yes, I think I did.
And where was he?
I recollect his asking me if Mr. Borden was hurt.
That was later. I mean, when you went out the first time.
No, sir, I didn't see any man.
When you went out to go upstairs with Mrs. Churchill, did you pass through the sitting room or pass through the dining room and around to the right into the hall?
Yes, sir. I went through the dining room and into the door of the sitting room out into the hall.
That is what I want to know, as to whether you went from the kitchen door right straight through the living room to the hall.
No, sir. I went from the kitchen to the dining room.
Went across the corner of the sitting room into the hall.
Yes, sir.
And at that time, Mr. Borden was covered up with a sheet.
Yes, sir.
And you hadn't been in to see him.
No, sir.
And Miss Lizzie was in the kitchen. You left her there when you and Mrs. Churchill started to go upstairs.
Yes, sir. I think so.
So when Miss Lizzie went upstairs, Mr. Borden was all covered up just as he was when you went, wasn't he?
Yes, must be.
So when she went through the dining room into the hall, she had no more chance to see him than you had.
No, sir.
Have you any idea what time it was when Mr. Borden came into the house?
Cannot fix the time, but I think by my time then, the work I did, it must have been around 10:30.
But you went upstairs after you got through and cleaned up your clothes, got the clothes cleaned up that you had, and put the things away.
That was after Mr. Borden came in.
And when you got up there, it was 3 or 4 minutes before 11.
Yes, sir.
See if I understand you about another thing. On Wednesday morning, it was that Miss Lizzie came down and complained and did not want much breakfast.
She did not say anything about breakfast, but she said she was sick all night.
That she was sick all night.
Yes, sir.
I think you said in answer to some question put to you by the other side, that night you did not hear any of them come up. You were in your room but did not hear them.
No, sir. I did not.
Did you learn that Mr. and Mrs. Borden were ill?
Yes, sir.
You did not hear any one of the three?
No, sir. I did not.
Miss Lizzie was about the house that forenoon, not doing anything in particular?
Saw her around the house before dinner. Saw her down around the kitchen at breakfast time, and before dinner was served on the table.
That is the day you said she had on the light blue wrapper.
Yes, sir.
Did she have that on when she came down in the morning?
Yes, sir.
And kept it on during the forenoon and had it at the dinner table?
Yes, sir.
And that day you remember it very clearly?
Yes, sir.
And the dinner was 12 o'clock?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember seeing her about the same day again, later in the day? Wednesday?
No, sir, I don't remember.
You don't quite remember whether you saw her in the afternoon or not?
No, sir. I did not see her.
I used the word wrapper.
It was a basque and a skirt.
If you will, tell me what the dress was.
It was a basque and a skirt.
It was a man's mistake. It was it a blouse, as someone at my right says?
Yes, sir. A loose blouse with a belt round it.
To state it all right, let me ask, what was it? A blouse and skirt?
I don't know the name. A loose skirt with a belt round it.
Was the skirt or waist or blouse of the same color?
Yes, sir.
Do you know whether she had any ribbon about it or not?
No, sir.
Can't remember the style?
I think it was a belt. Cannot tell. Don't know whether it was a belt or a ribbon.
Mr. Robinson completes the cross-examination of the witness. Redirect examination of the witness by Mr. Moody of the prosecution.
Is this dress that you're speaking of that she had on Wednesday the one you referred to as having been made in the spring?
Yes, sir.
And with a dark blue figure in it?
Yes, sir.
Between the breakfast hour on Wednesday and the time you saw Miss Lizzie Borden at dinner, did you see her anywhere?
Between breakfast and dinner?
Yes.
I don't remember seeing her anymore.
Where was she in the meantime? You don't know.
No, sir, I don't.
When was this occasion when Mrs. Borden was sick and neither of the girls went into her room?
It was not long in the house then. Probably 2 or 3 months.
How long was she ill at the time?
Only 1 day.
A word or two about your present residence. You understand that you are detained as a witness by the Commonwealth in the place in which you now are.
Yes, sir.
Have you been permitted to go in and out evenings?
I go in and out all I please.
And live in the family of the sheriff, the keeper of the jail, and do the work in that household, do you?
I do the cooking, up to this time.
Did you remain at the house after the homicide for any length of time?
I stayed there. I went out Thursday night and slept in the Miller girl's house. Friday night I slept in the house.
You mean Mrs. Miller's house with the girl?
The servant. I slept with her Thursday night.
On Thursday night?
Yes, sir. Came back Friday morning, stayed there all through that time, and did the work. And Friday night I went out and came back and slept there in the house.
In the Borden house?
Yes, sir. And Saturday night I left for good, as I thought. I came back Monday. Mr. Miller said I should not leave the house until he came and took me out.
You did not stay there Saturday night?
No, sir. Or Sunday night.
You were not there Sunday morning?
No, sir.
Were you there Sunday for any part of the day?
No, sir, I came there Monday morning.
Did Mrs. Borden have any habit, and you can answer this yes or no and nothing more, of telling you when she went out?
Now, wait a moment, I object to it. I simply did not want the witness to answer yet.
My question was objectionable, even as a preliminary one. I will modify it. Well, it may raise the whole question. We'll leave it there.
It is excluded.
Nothing further from this witness?
We will stop here and let the officers be sworn.
The court temporarily suspends the redirect examination of the witness. At 4:55 p.m., the court adjourns until 9 o'clock on Thursday morning, June 8th. The Lizzie Borden trial, Day 3, featured Kevin Morrison as Chief Justice Mason, Christine Daniels as George Robinson, Jen Tubbert as Bridget Sullivan, Keith Morrison as William H. Moody. This production was produced by Lion's Den Theatre. For more information about Lion's Den, find us at facebook.com/Lion's Den Theatre or Twitter @Lion's Den Theatre. Or feel free to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'm your Day 3 announcer, Allie House. Stay healthy, stay happy, and stay safe.